The moment our fellow geeks, dweebs, nerds, and other unfortunates have been fervently waiting for has finally arrived. It's time for TMI, Confessionals of the Nerd Kind. And now, your hosts, Jeff Nerfherder Chandler, Jim Kaiju Baker, and Christina Yojimbo Henry. You can continue. And now, let's get on with the show. Here is TMI.
How are we going to do this?
We're going to do this.
We can do this. We can do this.
Yeah. This is another one of those cases where I'm sad to see this actually come because we can't look forward to it anymore. Oh, Shin Ultraman and Shin Godzilla.
Okay,
today.
no, but stop right there, because is it Shin or Sheen?
It's Shin.
Sheen.
Because in Japanese, the I is always that long sound. It's E. It's an
Always.
E sound. Always a lot.
I will tell you, watching these two movies subtitled, I couldn't make heads or tails of half the characters' names because, you know, the one kid's name in Ultraman is, it doesn't sound the way it's spelled. There's a G in there, but it's not pronounced with a G. And I'm like, I'm just giving up.
Well, the reason that I gave up is because when you're watching it subtitles, they try to helpfully show the names of the people, but you're too busy.
Godzilla's horrible. When you
want to read what they're saying rather than study what their name and their position is.
Shin Godzilla is a lot going on because you got text up on the top and the bottom, and I'm like, what am I supposed to look?
I really want to look at the picture, but
we need to talk Shin Ultraman first.
Mm-hmm.
Kaiju chaos is all I'm going to say.
Are you going to do any news? Do we have news?
We are going to do some news. I will tell you right now, 2023 is already shaping up to be a crappy year. We're 16 days in. Do you see the list of people we've already lost? I mean, I'm not even talking about Jeremy Renner, who almost, but we lost Jeff Beck, Lisa Marie Presley, Robbie Knievel, and Adam Rich, all like in the last week. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not liking it, 23. Back off right now.
And Adam Rich and Lisa Marie Presley were quite young.
Good,
I mean, Lisa Marie Presley was only 54.
54. It's crazy.
She had a cardiac arrest.
I know.
It can happen to anybody. Unfortunately.
No, unfortunately is right. So,
and the big angle there is that she was just at the Golden Globes a day or two before it happened, looking very frail.
Speaking of Golden Globes, do you want to hit on a couple winners?
First of all, I'm shocked that they even hold this ceremony anymore after all the controversy a couple of years ago.
Right.
They didn't even air it last year. So I didn't think that it was happening. And I only knew about it after the fact. I didn't pay attention to it in any way, shape, or form. And also, I'm shocked that people go to it and to accept these awards.
They're still showing up. They still want their little shiny statue. But Austin Butler, what was it? Actor? Best actor? They don't call them best actor. It's just actor in a motion picture.
Right, because they have two different categories. The Globes are different than the Academy Awards in that way. Like at the Academy Awards, it's actor in a motion picture, right? At the Globes, they have actor in a motion picture, and then they have actor in a motion picture, musical, or comedy.
Which is weird because Michelle Yeoh won that for actress in a musical or comedy, but it was Ki Hoi Kwan won for actor in a motion picture. Supporting actor. Supporting actor in a motion picture, not the same category, but it's the same movie.
Elvis, Austin Butler, was nominated for drama rather than musical or comedy. And if there was anything that could be categorized as a musical, I would think it would be Elvis.
And he did his own singing, correct?
Right.
Or am I wrong in that?
Right. He did some of his own singing. Yes.
Okay. And we also had Angela Bassett, who won actress for motion picture with Wakanda Forever. I only bring these up because we actually covered all these movies. So if anyone is interested to actually go back and listen to those, I was not part of the Elvis, but I think you guys did a pretty deep dive on that one. Guillermo's Pinocchio one animated. I know we haven't talked about it, but definitely go watch it. Check it out. It's on Netflix. It's pretty cool stuff. So, all right. So that's all my Golden Globe stuff. Anybody see this? According to the Hollywood Reporter, Francis Ford Coppola is making this movie Megalopolis. Speaking of chaos, I guess there's some chaos going on because in the last week alone, they have lost their production designer and their supervising art director. And in, I guess, toward the end of December, the entire visual effects team walked away. So there's some...
I saw a headline that said there was some Apocalypse Now energy.
Well, right. This guy's got a history of on-set disasters. You know, Apocalypse Now is like legendary. And I didn't realize this. I guess he fired the entire visual effects team on Dracula back in the day. But he's funding this. This guy's 83 years old, and they're halfway through filming. It's a $120 million film. He's financing it himself. With
the winery money?
Yes, correct. Exactly. But this is a pretty big, I mean, you got Adam Driver, Forrest Whitaker, Lawrence Fishburne, John Voight, Shia LaBeouf, and Dustin Hoffman. So you got a big name cast. This is like a sci-fi thing. And originally they were going to use almost like the volume, what Disney's been doing with The Mandalorian. And it became really expensive. So then they decided to backtrack and go more green screen. And I guess the visual effects team wanted nothing to do with it. So I don't know. I've never even heard of this movie, but I guess it's half in a can already. Chaos.
If you're rich, I guess you can do whatever you want with your money.
Well, listen, yeah, is this a passion project or whatever, then have at it. But we'll keep an eye on that because I think that's who knows what's going to happen. And then I want to end with this. This showed up. I don't know if you heard about this Michael Bay drama that's going on. There's allegations that he actually killed a pigeon on the set of his movie last year in Italy because they are protected. And I guess the report, it comes out on this website called The Wrap, and they're accusing him of actually killing this creature. And he's fought back, and I guess he's got a lawyer involved now.
On camera? Did he have did he bear a grudge?
No, I mean, we've all seen movies where like chickens, get run over and stuff. But I guess this was like run over by a dolly or something. He's refuting it. He says that it did not happen at all.
So it's accidental. It's not like a cannibal Holocaust story.
No, it's not right. It's not like he pinned it on the wall and started shooting BBs at it or something and took it out. But yeah, they're a protected species in Italy, and I had no clue.
John Woo is outraged.
John Woo. Somebody should be knocking on his door. Yeah, that might have been one of his stunt pigeons. Who knows? That's all the news I have. I don't know.
You forgot the most important news of the week.
What is that? Please share.
Phineas and Ferb back. This is huge. This is huge news.
So fill us in, because they went off the air, 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
Yeah, a while ago. And they even had like kind of a really sweet emotional wrap up.
See, I can't believe anything now. Now they're coming
back.
So I assume it's the original voice cast, right?
Well, it's Dan Povenmire, and I'm assuming he'll try to get everybody back. He got everybody back for the Candace movie that came out last year or two years ago. I've lost track of the years. And it was apparently a part of a package. Disney was renewing the second season of his Hansel and Gretel series. They did an overall deal with him that would also bring back Phineas and Ferb for 40 episodes, as well as the development of future live action projects.
But as you say, that they ended it so nicely. It was extremely cathartic. Now, this is exciting news, of course, and I'm going to watch it. But this is something they should mess with now that it's kind of wrapped up in a nice bow.
Well, we did love the movie. And that
money to be had. That was a good
after
movie.
The series had ended. So I love Phineas and Ferb. I think I've watched the whole series, all the way through 5 or 6 times. So I'm really, really excited about this. I mean, this is why I have no time to watch these prestige dramas. Okay, guys, I'm always watching cartoons.
Priorities.
Now, if only they would bring back DuckTales, my life would be complete.
That's too soon, right?
Yeah, it is too soon.
Give it another 10 years. That was
another one that wrapped up nicely.
I loved the new DuckTales, though.
Yeah, no,
I thought it was great.
Yep.
I love the fact that Huey, Dewey, and Louie are no longer interchangeable. The personalities that were given to them as individuals was really a nice thing to see.
Yeah, I really loved DuckTales. Anyway, but very excited about the new Phineas and Ferb episodes. I don't know when they'll actually be coming down the pike, but he signed a deal and hopefully we'll see them soon.
I saw something where it is being rumored that Adam Driver is being considered for the lead in the MCU Fantastic Four. And that meaning I can only assume Reed Richards. Yeah.
No. A little too on the nose if he's
Don't
Dr.
make me
Doom.
say John Krasinski, okay?
Krasny? John Krasinski.
You know, and again, I don't know how true that is or what, but that's what I saw was a headline.
I don't know. I every time you click any kind of news now, it's just like, you know, they're pulling some other big name actor into the MCU.
They haven't gotten him yet, so, and he's already a Disney property.
I was going to say, I'm curious how much Adam Driver would want to be a part of a big franchise where he would be, you know, the Star Wars movies are one thing. You know, he was probably contracted for the 3 films, but like with these MCU movies, you get these contracts where you're potentially contracted out for 8, 9 films, like where you might have to just appear in one film for 5 minutes. And your contract says that you have to do that. And then you have to go on these endless press junkets. I mean, it's one of the reasons why Chris Evans left the thing, because you don't have time to do anything else. And Adam Driver has been building like this really interesting career away from Star Wars. I don't know that he would necessarily want to be trapped in a contract where he wouldn't have time to do projects that were interesting to him.
He's not Reed Richards material, I don't feel.
John Krasinski.
If it ends up happening.
I'm going to keep saying it till it manifests.
If Adam Driver ends up happening, please keep your shirt on.
That was my favorite part.
All right, Shin Ultraman. You like that? Shin?
There you go.
I said it. I said it.
Okay.
All right, so this was a Fathom event.
Fathom, my first Fathom event. By
Only 2 nights, not even a weekend. So you had to take time out of your weekday schedule, and we all did, in order to go out.
I took
make
a day
an effort
off
to
of
see
work
this.
just to make sure I made it to 7 o'clock.
Me too. I did not work that day, and that was all kind of hinged around Shin Ultraman.
So what was your theater experience like? Was theater full?
My theater was probably between 30 and 40% full. So
I'm gonna say the same thing. I actually was very surprised. It was a smaller theater. I was the first one there, and people just kept pouring in. I mean, it was crazy. And it was probably half full.
And I would say that the demographic in my theater, early to mid 20s.
I had a mix, but a lot of nerdy people that were very into it.
Our theater was 90% sold out. Only the first row was empty.
Wow.
I apparently didn't buy tickets instantaneously when they went on sale. We had to kind of sit in the corner. We were like in the back row in the corner. So I was like right in front of a speaker.
Oh, no.
Like the speaker was basically blasting straight at me up the side. And it got really loud.
Now you know what it felt like to see Moon Age Daydream, and I'm
that was loud.
They actually pulled out the stops because I've only ever attended one other special Fathom event at Regal, and that was the 3D Dawn of the Dead, and that was just like going to any other movie. I got the same Maria Menounos, I got the same types of trailers. It wasn't anything programmed around the movie I was about to watch. This was all about Ultraman in the lead up to the actual movie. There was a trivia, there was a review of all the original shows from the series. Yeah. And there was a couple of interviews as well. And I'm sure you got the same thing.
Yep. Yeah. No, I was very thankful for that because it confused me even more. I'm like, I know nothing about it. I think the first 4 trivia questions, I got them right, but it was blind luck. And then as it went on, I'm like, I clearly don't know any of this stuff. I don't, the one that's like, which one of these Ultraman did not appear in episode 7? And I'm like, they all look the same. It was like a Sesame Street thing. It's like one of these
but the trivia was not. It wasn't from the original show. It was from some of these other iterations of Ultraman. So here's the thing: is of course I know the character. But I never was, and just maybe because there wasn't much access to the show on TV as a kid, and I never really made an effort to seek it out. as I got older, I was familiar with the character, to the point where I even had an action figure. I remember, I don't know where I got it from, but I never really saw the show or was that familiar with it. I just knew the bare basics.
Yeah, he's a giant robot.
And, it was a character that was partially created by Eiji Tsuburaya, the famous Godzilla special effects maestro. The interviews they had at the beginning, they had one with Takumi Saito, who plays Shinji Kaminaga, who's actually the Ultraman character in the film. Alert. Then there was an interview with the director Shinji Higuchi, which I really enjoyed his, because he was talking about how the Japanese audience was so quiet.
Yeah.
And
he was like,
when they were watching it, and he didn't know they actually liked the film. And he was so excited when the film went overseas, because he's like, Americans cheer and laugh, You
see, that got me more keyed up for the movie than any of what came before was his interview. So I'm glad that they kept that in. Now, let me point this out, because this is important up front. Regal has struck out twice now with Fathom Events for me. Because you may remember with Dawn of the Dead, whoever was running the projector didn't realize it was in 3D.
3D, right.
So it took somebody to get up and tell them about 10 minutes into the theater. And it happened to be my wife who did so, thankfully. Turns out they needed a filter because nobody knew it was supposed to be in 3D. Same kind of thing happened here where, okay, we go through all the beginning. The movie's about 10 minutes in and it's dubbed. And as soon as they start talking, I heard, murmurs, because you could specifically choose if you saw a subtitled version or a dubbed version, because they were playing different ones on each night.
Right. Correct.
Wednesday was the subbed. So, it wasn't my wife this time. Somebody else in the theater got up and left. And 10 minutes in to this dubbed version, the movie screen goes blank after somebody gets up. They start the whole thing over again.
Good.
They had to choose the roles. So I had to sit through
all the interview stuff as well.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody was like, oh, when the interview stuff started again.
It's like, crap. Now I got to watch it again.
But it was the subbed version, at least, once the movie itself started.
I'm smelling somebody's dropping a ball over there on your Regal.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will tell you, my ticket taker, he was very excited that when I showed my ticket, and he goes, I can't wait to watch this. I'm so jealous. And I'm like, you don't get free screenings? He says, not Fathom. He says, Fathom events, we do not get the free screening. But he must have run into my theater about 7 or 8 times throughout the movie. I could see it because I was sitting right there. And he would just, even when the trivia, he would run in and he would answer the questions and then run back out. I'm like, I want that guy on my team.
People who love Ultraman really love Ultraman. Probably, I want to say 7 or 8 years ago, because my son was pretty young. My husband and son went to the Music Box and they had an Ultraman special. It was like a double feature of 2 of the TV movies. And they said everyone in the theater was singing along with the theme song. People who love Ultraman really love.
People in my theater were very into this movie. They were laughing. They were giggling.
Yeah. In my theater, they weren't there out of curiosity. They were there because they were invested.
Yeah, it's a very niche audience. It's too bad they only did it one night.
It's very, very unfortunate, because I think that Shin Godzilla has a real following, a real cult following, and it had a wider release in the US, not just the Fathom events. So, at least with Fathom, it's making its way into quote unquote more mainstream theaters, so that it is at a Regal, it is at an AMC, it is at whatever, so that more people would maybe have access to it.
Right.
But it's unfortunate because it's only 2 nights. So if you couldn't go on a Tuesday or Wednesday, which
it's not even a weekend, it's weird.
It's a very big challenge for me to leave the house at 6:30 on a Wednesday night and stay awake until 9 o'clock. Even though I was.
Now imagine if you were in a screening where you had to rewatch all the first 20 minutes. It's cutting into my sleep time. I took the entire day off just to make sure, because I never know what time I'm getting done at night. And the last thing I needed to do was be racing to get. The weird thing is that even though you buy your seats and you pick them, everyone kept coming into the theater and looking around, trying to find, didn't you pick your seats? It was just a weird thing. They'd sit down, they'd get up, they'd move. And I'm like, I'm just staying put right here. This is the seat I bought.
Do they consider that just a suggestion when they pick a seat? Like, I'm going to sit where I want anyway.
It was a small theater. It wasn't, it was probably the smallest theater that my Regal has. But I still ended up not really with anybody around me, even though, like I said, there was a lot of people. I was very surprised.
Yeah, you could tell that there wasn't a lot of confidence in this, hence the 2-day window. Like, oh, we'll put it out there and see who comes. It made over $600,000 in its 2 days. Yeah.
Like I said, the people who love Ultraman really love Ultraman.
I mean, this is available because we were Googling it beforehand. There are discs of it on Amazon.
Yeah,
and it's all over eBay. So I don't know what region they are, if you can even play them on your player, but
they're probably in Japanese, no subtitles.
Oh, could be. Yeah, that's
or they might be self-subtitled. I think I mentioned there's like a really big kind of aftermarket for people who kind of do subtitles for Japanese products, especially anime, and like put them out there as discs for people who don't have access to some of this Japanese programming that doesn't make it over here. So it could be that, but I'm sure it'll get an official release, official Blu-ray or DVD release at some point.
Yeah, is this? I didn't notice the Funimation logo at the front.
No, I didn't see anything on Funimation, but
too awestruck by the Toho logo to notice anything else going on.
Can I just say, the first 20 minutes, I was in absolute heaven, sitting in a theater at a big screen, watching kaiju beat the crap.
Yeah, the first.
I was elated. I am so in right now.
But I just loved also, before Ultraman even comes into it, the overview of all the kaiju that, in a very Pacific Rim type of way, they just kind of say, and now this one came, and then this one came, and then this one came. And they're all kind of throwbacks, because even if you don't know Ultraman, the original series or the TV stuff, if you're looking at the preview of the, those little clips of the original series, you could see some correlations, and they even had Godzilla in there, the Godzilla suit.
Yes,
with a fin around it. And of course, and then you see Shin Godzilla in there with the fin around it. So they're trying to pawn him off as a brand new monster in the beginning. But I did read that, of course, they used the same 3D model in order to build that. Gomez, I think. Gomez Adams. I think he has a wife that he kisses her arm daily.
I did not write down the name of the creatures, but right at the beginning, the credits, it opens with the Shin Godzilla logo. And then morphs into, but from what I understand, these are not connected in any way, shape, or form. They are not trying to create some kind of a Shin universe.
I think that was the original intent. According to what I read, because of copyright reasons, they couldn't specifically tie the stories together. So as a concession, maybe to remind audiences that there is a Shin Godzilla, that pops up at the beginning.
Yeah, it was weird.
It does get you excited, to see that.
They're two completely different movies, though.
Yeah, not a shared universe, apparently.
No,
not a shared
so then why do it? It was weird. It was like, okay, yeah. Have we ever seen an invisible kaiju? By the way, we've never seen that before. That was like I said, the first 20 minutes, I am completely on board.
So I really liked this, but it ultimately, at the end, it ended up feeling like 4 episodes of the TV show and not like a cohesive film.
I'm glad you say that, because I think the pacing was really odd and awkward, and it didn't, the story wise, it didn't carry me through. Just like Shin Godzilla, there's a lot of dialogue heavy scenes of what's going on with the SSSP. It opens with a bang. And then there's the Ultraman stuff is really intermittent throughout. So you're kind of waiting for the next kaiju scene. And the way that it's structured, and with Shin Godzilla, that's not really an issue. But with this one, it was. I just felt the pacing was awkward.
Yeah. Well, it's because they basically every half an hour, they introduce a new alien to because they were like, okay, there's the bad guy, but now he's dead, and we're only like an hour into the movie.
Right. It's like, who's the new bad guy?
And then I did enjoy Zarab and his jaunty little fedora when he first appeared.
Yeah, I liked him a lot better than the second guy.
It was like Cousin It. What's going on over here?
It's weird because these aliens from other planets keep showing up because of Ultraman's actions have somehow drawn attention to this planet, and all these aliens are like, well, these humans are going to be annoying at some point in the future, so we should destroy them all.
Just get rid of them.
Yeah, but
that's a good call, by the way.
What was confusing to me is they wanted to kill everybody. I'm talking about Ultraman's boss here at the end.
Right.
Because we were given the box, but the box was taken. So we didn't have the box anymore, and he was still going to kill us.
Who's got the box? I got the box.
What ends up happening is you basically have sort of this opening sequence where Ultraman is fighting kaiju, and then Zarab shows up pretending to be a friendly alien, but of course he really has a secret plot.
They all do.
And
don't trust aliens. Don't trust aliens.
And let me tell you, his clothes don't help any. To
no, like he's
to give the impression that he's on the level. Trench coat and a fedora.
They'll love it.
So Zarab kidnaps Kaminaga and impersonates as Ultraman so he can ruin his reputation so that the Japanese government will think Ultraman isn't really a hero. But then the real Ultraman returns and defeats him, and then a whole new plot starts.
Yeah. I was like, because I was thinking to myself, this guy has to be tied with Zarab.
Yeah.
And there's no obvious connection between the two. So
even if they just had like little chapter titles, it would have at least, all right, we're going on to a different.
So I would just say that this movie isn't the sum of its parts. There were really, really great sequences that I enjoyed.
Like I said, the first 20 minutes, I was giddy, and then the next.
But as a full experience, I think it was a bit lacking.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Yeah. I mean, you have me in the damn seat. I'm in the theater. Entertain me. Like even at the end with this giant thing in space, and I kept waiting for it to like turn into like Evangelion or something. Yeah, nothing. It like zaps him twice and then he dies. It's like, what's going on? It's like that's not a climatic.
Even like the whole thing with Mephiles, who's the second, or Mephiles, the second.
Yeah, I'm not even
alien. Yeah, and he is weirdly passive aggressive. He claims that he's going to give the beta box to the government so that they'll have the same power as Ultraman.
That always works well.
Yeah. And then he doesn't seem like he wants to fight Ultraman, but then he does. But when he sees Ultraman's superior, like observing the fight, he's like, circumstances have changed. See you later.
Yeah. I'm taking my box.
Too, because you're like,
I'm taking my box and going home.
Yeah. Oh, you brought a friend? Yeah, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
And he actually commits a real social faux pas, by the way, in Japan, Mephiles. He invites Ultraman to drinks, and then he doesn't pay.
Well, he's not from around here, so he shouldn't be faulted.
You can't hold him to customs.
He's not actually Japanese, so he doesn't know.
That's like a real social faux pas. If you invite somebody to dinner in Japan or like out for a drink or whatever, you pay. If you do the inviting, you pay.
I think that's expected regardless of where you are.
That may be globally. I don't think that's
a very
Japanese,
strict social custom in Japan. There's no like, oh, let's split the tab type of thing.
Let's go out for drinks. You buy.
Yeah, that's not how it works. So it was just sort of funny because I was thinking about the way that scene would have landed with a Japanese audience.
That's why they were quiet. They're like, wait a minute. This guy's an alien after all.
But let me point out, after Zarab goes bye-bye, after he's split in two by the Ultra Slash,
the buzzsaw.
That whole scene with Asami when she becomes giant, that was so out of left field that I loved it. I was like, this is great. Is Ultraman going to fight her now?
Talk about your upskirt shot.
Now, of course, everybody in the audience was laughing hysterically when she put her leg up, like as if you could see anything, which you could not.
May I say, if it was a certain kind of anime, you would have seen it.
I didn't pay for that one.
Now that character is completely off the wall as well. because she has some real issues, like constantly grabbing her own buttocks is
what is
or
up with
slapping
that?
herself.
Was that another Japanese
but that was
custom
like,
I was
just like, if you go back and listen to our Face Off episode, I was wondering how they would darken Ultraman, because that was the assumption that if it was Shin Godzilla, which is so dark, that they would do the same with Shin Ultraman. And of course, going off of Nicolas Cage's character, I'm like, the only thing that they could possibly do is have him grab some robot buttocks. And I was not far off.
We do. So I like these characters, these other members of this group. And I thought they were a lot of fun. And Asami, that's the girl. At one point, she's like, I'm not even drunk. Why did I wake up in plastic sheets? And I'm just like, well, you're a party girl.
Yeah.
Wow. Break out the plastic sheets, kids.
Now, this is the other
Jim,
thing.
Did you recognize Tamura?
Of course I did. Drive My Car is such a nuanced, well-acted, well-written piece, while this has, it's Ultraman, right? It's bad dialogue. It's bad. So I'm like, I know this guy is capable. This guy is capable of so much more.
Like really a lot more.
But because he's not, he is acting to the level of Ultraman.
Right.
Here. Not the Ultraman, the being, but the movie, the show, the genre.
Yeah, for those who don't realize, the actor who plays Tamura, Hidetoshi Nishijima, he's in Drive My Car, which if you have not seen it, you should watch it, and then you should listen to me and Jim review the episode.
You think that with an advanced civilization, they could actually name their planet rather than just... That would be like us saying, we live on the planet of water. It's like, forget a name. It's just the planet of water. So the character of Kaminaga is killed, actually, at the beginning of the movie during Ultraman's first appearance. And he is, 100% Ultraman when he comes down at the beginning to fight this kaiju. We're really unsure, where these kaiju are coming from. Were they tied? Was there dialogue that I missed? Were they tied to the aliens, all these kaiju from the beginning of the movie?
They're implying that they're and that they're emerging from the earth to take care of problems that people have caused. So there's a
so they're natural. They're natural.
Right. So there's a creature that eats electricity, and there's a creature that eats nuclear waste. And the only reason that they're emerging is because of actions that we have taken as a species.
Yeah, I did like that at one point someone says, kaiju only attack Japan.
I was like, for some reason they only attack us, Let's give everybody else a taste of this.
Yeah, we mentioned the US military a lot in like very funny comments, but like at one point he was like, oh, make sure they build the Ministry of Defense and not us. Yeah, the kaiju were the best part of this whole thing. They were fun. I wanted more kaiju.
Well, yeah, because the kaiju really disappear after kind of, like I said, the first half hour. You can really break this down into like half hour chunks.
No, exactly. It's exactly what you just said before. It felt like 4 completely different episodes just sewn together.
Yeah, a lot of it really, because where I was getting at, Kaminaga is killed and then Ultraman simulates him because the dead body is still in the forest, but then becomes him and like takes over his job.
So that guy just laying in the woods dead all this time. Yeah.
And then he turns to Ultraman when he's needed because he's got the little lightsaber thing, which turns him to Ultraman. And then later on,
it's a handheld beta box.
Yes, which is like a much smaller version of the beta box that Mephiles brings a little bit later and then takes away. So at the end, when Zafi realizes, okay, this is kind of noble what you're doing, that you want to stay here and I don't know why, but you want to protect these humans. I'm not really sure what happens at the end. So
I was hoping you could tell me.
So Kaminaga wakes up, and I assume that he's not Ultraman anymore, that he's just human, and that Ultraman
dies. Yeah. That was my take.
So it's not like real. Well, they could do a sequel, but it's not with him. I think he's human now. He's gotten a second chance on life, and then.
Well, we see it from his point of view when he wakes up, so you don't know what he looks like. He may, I don't know, have alter parts. I don't know what was going on, but yeah, he did wake up.
He did wake up. Yeah.
What happened? Yep. You've been dead in the woods for a couple days.
He wakes
this chick
up
right here. She grew 50 foot tall. Yeah, it was crazy. That's nuts. You missed it.
And Asami says "Okaeri nasai," which is Japanese, the word you use when you come home. Like someone, when you walk in the door, you say "taidama," and the people in the house say "Okaeri nasai," welcome home.
Mm-hmm. So he's human. I would think that means he's human. Yeah. No more Ultraman. Buddy. Yeah.
Nobody.
So now he's got to get to know her all over again because Ultraman is the one that was buddies with her.
Right. Yeah. He wasn't buddies, though. He wasn't a good buddy.
Good enough that she smacked his ass and didn't get in trouble for it.
She's getting called into the HR office as we speak.
Yeah. The other thing was about the stilted nature of it. The end, it seemed that when Zeton, the big, the weapon of mass destruction, first appears and Ultraman approaches it, like that should have been the climactic moment. Like, and they drag that out because he's beaten. And then he's got to figure out how to beat it. Then he goes back for round 2. Because that was really when that thing unfolds.
Yeah.
First of all, that was the real Spaceballs, she's gone from suck to blow moment, This should be the climax right here. And you're like, a
major mecha
then we got to
battle.
wait
That's
15
nothing.
minutes for him to go and fight it again. I hate to say this because I was as excited as all those people in my theater that were so pumped to see this. And I kind of felt a little empty at the end of it.
I agree. Unfortunately, the production value was really nice. I mean, seeing it on the big screen was a lot of fun. I'm like, I could come back every week and just watch another.
And I love that, besides the Toho logo, that really psychedelic logo that appears. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, the swirly thing.
Yeah,
they
I
updated
love
that, but that was cool. I've never seen that, but then again, I've never really watched Ultraman, so.
So you guys realize that this is the middle entry in like a Shin trilogy.
Yes,
right?
and the third one is even more ridiculous than Ultraman. The setup of Kamen Rider. Like it's like Knight Rider on a motorcycle and a robot with a scarf.
Yeah, and
I'm like, they're going into absurdist territory here.
That's a really popular TV series in Japan. Never really reached the same degree of popularity over here. You can sort of think of maybe something like a Power Ranger on a motorcycle. It's sort of like that. Kind of has that feel.
Yeah. Next is going to be Shin Japanese Spider-Man.
So that's what they're doing next. Ano and Higuchi, they're making Shin Kamen Rider.
Why don't they go to some of the other kaiju, the Toho kaiju, like Shin Mothra,
Yeah, I don't know. I guess this explains, though, why there isn't a sequel to Shin Godzilla when it seems so obvious that there should have been.
Right. And now that they're, in development with the new Godzilla, that doesn't appear to be a sequel to Shin Godzilla.
It's just a one and done.
And the end of Shin Godzilla just begs, like, what is going to happen
we
now?
Gotta get there.
Don't you want to see?
Hold on, you're getting ahead of ourselves here.
Yeah. All right. So are we bucket ready for Shin Ultraman?
Yeah, I think we are.
Go ahead.
I say 3. I had fun. I enjoyed it. Ultraman isn't my super favorite, and I appreciate their sense of humor. I think that there's some like really sort of dry humor moments in this throughout. So I enjoyed myself.
I did as well, but there was palpable disappointment. So I'm going to go a little less than 3, 2 3/4 for me. Cue the booing and the hissing out there. Because I apologize. Is, right? I know if you're listening to this, you're somewhat invested in Ultraman, so I apologize.
I think diehard fans probably love this.
Yeah.
Like I said,
and again, just my opinion. I'm not putting it down.
Right. Well, that's every episode.
Yeah.
We're just opinions. My theater, when I came out, there were 2 or 3 groups and they were all buzzing. Exactly what we're doing right here. We're dissecting it. We're talking about it. They're giggling. My theater was really into it. I think if you had a little more knowledge of Ultraman lore, maybe you would have appreciated it a little bit better. I'm going to go 3 1/4. I really, really liked the first 20 minutes.
I agree.
I was elated. I was like, and production wise, it was nice. It was pretty, sound quality. I didn't have a speaker in front of my face, so it wasn't blowing me away.
That was a lot, especially at 8:00 at night when I was a little bit tired and I was just getting a lot of audio.
A wave. Just a word to the wise, there is no end credit scene, so obviously give credit to all those people who worked on it, but there's nothing, they don't tease you with anything. So 3 1/4. I'm happy I saw it in the theater.
Yeah, so am I. That was a novelty in itself.
Yeah. So Fathom Events, give us some more.
Yeah, and we'll be on board with Shin Kamen Rider, regardless of how ridiculous it is.
Are we going to be on board?
I wish they had re-released Shin Godzilla as part of the Fathom event. That
like maybe a double feature?
Yeah.
That would have been fun.
You would never have been able to stay up for that.
If they started at 4 o'clock. If they started at 4, maybe.
Well, we're doing it for them. How's that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We can't be the first to say, let's pair these two up.
Mm-hmm.
But speaking of staying awake, before we embark on Shin Godzilla, let's go to the concession stand like we always do. We've got a special treat lined up today.
Mm.
Yes. So we're talking about Pocky, which is a now extremely ubiquitous Japanese snack. Probably about 15, 20 years ago. Well, I know 15, 20 years ago, you could only basically get them in like Japanese and Asian markets because I live in a city and I used to go to Japanese markets to get Pocky, but it's now pretty much sold everywhere.
It is everywhere.
If you don't know what Pocky is, it is a biscuit, a thin stick biscuit that is dipped in candy, originally just chocolate, and then they've expanded into other flavors. The reason why the end of this stick has no chocolate on it is because they were hand dipped by
You've got to hold it or your fingers get all messy as well.
Right.
Yeah.
So it gets its name from the Japanese word pokin. This is an onomatopoeia. It's the snapping sound that it makes when you bite into it.
Huh.
And it does. It's a very satisfying snap when you bite into it.
It was invented by Yoshiaka Koma and released by the Glico Company first in 1966.
Wow.
So you could be watching the original Ultraman on TV while you're snacking on this thing.
While you were eating Pocky.
If you were in the know.
Mm-hmm. It was originally just chocolate biscuits. That's the famous red box. Almond Pocky went on sale in 1971, and Strawberry Pocky went on sale in 1976.
So almond Pocky, does that have little bits of almond in the chocolate?
It's chocolate dipped, and it has like little almonds inside the chocolate. It's like got a different degree of crunch if you've never tried it. It reached France in 1982. That was the first European country that sold Pocky, and except there, it's known as Mikado.
What?
And all throughout Europe, it's known as Mikado, and not Pocky.
Really?
They rebranded it.
The Pocky production reached Canada in 1987, and it didn't actually start being made in the U.S. until 2003.
Which makes sense.
Yes, which is why I think it was so hard to find, obviously, unless you had a Japanese market in your town.
Yeah, you can find it in grocery store, Five Below. I mean, it's everywhere.
Yeah,
I don't think it's at your concession stand.
And it's not actually at concession stands in Japan either. I actually did a little search because, people report everything that ever happens to them now on the internet. So I was like, I'm sure I can find a report of what it's like to go to see a movie in Japan. And sure enough, I found a blog post somebody had done last year in November about going to see a movie in Japan. Now, I want to say up front that they were quite amazed that in Japan, they had to go up an escalator to get to the cinema. They're like, in the U.S., all the movies are at theaters on the first floor. No, I'm sorry.
You've ever been to Manhattan?
Right. I live in a city, and every single movie theater I go to, I have to go up an escalator to get to the theater, except for the Music Box, because that's an old school movie house. But other than that, the AMC downtown, the Regal that I go to, the Landmark, they're all like on the third floor, the fourth floor, the fifth floor, the sixth floor. This is not unusual in urban areas. That was the first thing the person talked about in their experience.
Were they also amazed that you actually had to drive your car into the drive-in?
But what was interesting was they had some photographs of inside the theater lobby, because there's a lot of things for you to do in the theater lobby, because you cannot be seated inside the Japanese theater until 10 minutes before the film starts.
Really?
Period. Yes.
Oh, I wouldn't like that at all.
So they have all these gachapon machines. If you've never seen a gachapon machine, they're these little Japanese toy machines. There's usually like a bank of them. There's a Japanese market that's near us that has like a whole gacha section, and you can just go get like weird, they're usually a series of weird toys. We actually used to have a subscription service where we got gachapon from Japan.
To weird toys?
Yeah. Like the subscription service was basically the people who ran the service would go to gachapon banks and like get a bunch of toys and then ship them to US subscribers. So in Japanese theater lobbies, they have gachapon machines. They apparently also have like a cinema store where you can like buy DVDs and T-shirts, like merchandise, like based on the films.
How come we don't have that?
And then as far as like their concessions, like they're pretty standard. They have popcorn, they have churros, they have orange juice, which is apparently a big thing. If you would like orange juice with your popcorn.
Wow. Imagine how much more sticky our floors would be if we sold orange juice.
But they have more than one flavor of popcorn, and they will give you a divider in your bucket.
In your buckets.
So you can get like half caramel corn and half butter flavor or whatever.
Or if you want to say to your companion, you stay on that side.
Right.
And this is my side.
Yes, you can get a large bucket with a little divider in it. So that was sort of nice. So but I did not see any indication that they sold Pocky specifically at the concession stand in Japan. However, like I said, this is a very ubiquitous snack. Like if you go any grocery store in the US now, it seems like sells it. So like you can pretty much get it everywhere.
Yeah, stay away from the banana flavored one.
I wonder if people actually sneak food in theaters in Japan.
I don't know. I really don't, because
there's a lot going on over there.
So I do want to talk about the flavors, because there's we have a fair number of flavors that make it over here. Like there's matcha, there's banana, there's cookies and cream, which is my son's personal favorite.
The strawberry one you mentioned before.
The strawberry one. Quite a few different things. But in Japan, they have all these sort of special seasonal and regional versions.
Ooh.
So
teriyaki?
No, but there's Tokyo Amazaki, which if you've never had Amazaki, it's like a sweet sake, basically. They have Sakura, which is cherry blossom flavor. It comes out during Sakura season in the spring. They have Gojira Kinto sweet potato, which is like a regional specialty. They have a lot of what they call luxury flavors, which include like a ruby Pocky, which is meant to be paired with wine. They have
high-end Pocky.
Yeah, they have Otono no Kohaku Adult Amber, which is meant to pair with whiskey.
Wow. Is this your swizzle stick?
Yes, it's like a drink stirrer.
Really? Wow.
So there's a lot of versions of Pocky. The Guinness Book of World Records says, this is a very specific record, by the way, that it's the world's largest chocolate-coated biscuit brand. Chocolate-coated biscuit brand.
I can't think of a second one. Well done, Pocky.
Yes.
Well done.
Well, would Twix be considered chocolate-covered biscuit?
Left side or right side?
I've got a bag full of it from my son's Halloween stash still, and it's the little individual ones. So
apparently, they are not the world's largest chocolate-coated biscuit brand, because Guinness Book of World Records verifies this stuff. So they say it's Pocky.
Well,
maybe it's got to be straight chocolate and no carb. Well, but the ingredients aren't that great. You got some palm oil, so you don't want to overdo it on the Pocky. Hydrogenated palm oil, stuff like that. So I pause when I see ingredients like that, but it's good.
You just ate the whole box.
On occasion, I did, because I had it in front of me. They are addictive, and there's so few in here that you go through a box quickly. So I got 2 boxes. So this is my second box that I have in my hand,
and
they are very, very good. Like a darker taste in the chocolate. And it's so nice. Like I said, it's got that satisfying snap. It's almost like a pretzel stick with chocolate on it.
Well, Glico originally made a stick called Pretz, which was like a savory stick. And that was the sort of basis for Pocky. So, and you can still buy Pretz. Again, it's maybe not as easy to find as Pocky is, but it's available. Like I said, I have a Japanese market near me that I go to all the time, and you see Pocky and you see Pretz next to each other on the shelf, and they have like a cheese flavor and a butter flavor and whatever. It's the same type of thing. It's more like a savory snack.
We're getting the stink eye here because we're talking about something they don't even sell.
I know.
The concession stand.
Not very happy. Could you pick me up some?
The last thing I want to say is that Pocky has its own holiday in Japan. It's November 11th.
Pocky Day?
Pocky Day is November 11th.
I like it.
Because the Pocky stick looks like
11/11.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah.
Happy Pocky Day.
All right. So let's go back to the theater, sit ourselves down, and watch Shin Godzilla. We've been holding on this ever since we heard. And this is another one for whatever reason we've never discussed on the show before. But it was a no-brainer once we heard Shin Ultraman was coming out. We have to save it for Shin Ultraman. And it was well over
2 years.
Was it like 2 years that we first talked up Shin Ultraman? And then we finally now have gotten it because it came out in Japan last May and did gangbusters. I think it was the number 6 domestic Japanese film at the Japanese box office for 2022. But also gangbusters, Shin Godzilla. So this was a 2016 release. They got it earlier that year. We got it a little bit later. Now, Jeff, you said you saw it in the theater. Christina, I'm assuming you did as well.
I believe I did. Yeah.
Definitely saw this in the theater. I have pictures of me and my son in front of the movie poster in the lobby.
Yeah. I did not. I saw it whenever it was released on Blu-ray, whenever that was.
I was going to say, I own it on Blu-ray as well.
Mm-hmm.
I did like the Attack on Titan trailer, the live action, and I've yet to ever come across this.
Yeah, that was really intriguing. I've seen plenty of merchandising for the Attack on Titan.
Yeah,
stuff.
my child was really into Attack on Titan for a while. So I was very familiar with it, but I don't think I ever knew. I mean, like I said, I have the Blu-ray. I've watched the movie before, but it's not like there's a lot of these movies. I think Starship Yamato is another live action movie that I'm dying to see it, but I've never come across it. A lot of these Japanese movies just don't.
I have to say my experience of like manga that get turned into anime that get turned into live action films is that the live action films are always in some way disappointing. I look to you, Fist of the North Star.
Throwing shade.
It's so hard. The thing is, there's a lot of times there's such a huge fantasy element involved with these manga that just making it live action, it just doesn't seem right,
Well, that was part of the issue I had with Shin Ultraman as well. But Shin Godzilla, the opposite of what we're getting at here, that this tries to bring like a frightening, gritty reality to Godzilla. And I think that this exceeds far beyond whatever my expectations were going into watching this for the first time back in 2016, and rewatching it again, it just kind of solidifies that this, it's not quite the Godzilla that you're used to seeing, although the basic form is there, right?
Take on this character, for sure.
Standing on 2 legs, the fins are there, very reptilian, but it's like nothing you've seen in a Godzilla film before. And it looks like its very existence is pain. It's shedding blood, slushing through its gills at the beginning when it's going through all these changes. So it looks like it's just leaking blood everywhere because there's red stains all over it. So it looks like, of course it's angry because it looks like it's in pain all the time.
Well, it's angry because it's got those silly googly eyes. How can you not laugh the first time you see that thing?
You can't laugh because it's like bleeding, and it looks.
I understand, but
almost,
the eyes just take me out of it.
Blind to me is what it looks like.
The frills are very much axolotl-ish in these frills, and it's disgusting because you're getting. And never once do I feel that we're just watching a guy in a suit. By the way, it is very well done, and I think it's a very traditional Godzilla movie, but you throw in these mutations and it becomes something horrific.
I don't know how much or if any they used in terms of suit acting. I think it's a lot of it is motion capture.
Is it? Okay. I did not do a super deep dive on the actual production of it, but it is beautiful, and it's something that we've never seen before in a Godzilla movie.
Definitely. Unfortunately, it sounds like we'll never see again.
I do feel that this was brought to you by like Architectural Digest, though, because there's some beautiful shots of office buildings and conference rooms, and they just run from one. I guess it's kind of a commentary.
Yeah,
that this bureaucracy is just
yeah.
running from conference room to conference room.
They have meetings talking about holding the next meeting in this.
Yeah, right. And let's go into that. Hold on. Let's go over here.
Right. And I love how every meeting is named. Like when the three professors show up, it's like the emergency academic conference on the giant unidentified creature.
Yes.
Like the meeting is titled. It's a useless meeting that lasts 3 minutes, right? Yeah. And then they zip out. But I do think that part of what makes one of the things I like about this is that they're also commenting on like this sort of stifling bureaucracy that stops problems from being solved. You know, there's all these scenes of people walking from room to room. And I like this because he gets this expository dialogue in, but there's still action going on. So you're not just like watching people sitting in a room statically talking all the time.
It's shot really nice. Like I said, there's a lot of beauty shots of couches and conference tables.
But and they're playing also to kind of bring you along. They're playing like the monster theme, like sometimes while this is going on. Yeah. So there's a level of excitement here,
hinting that the humans are the real problem once again.
But it's interesting because there's a scene where somebody says, what happens if it comes on land? And the answer is, we haven't determined what agency it falls under yet. So it's like, we can't even solve this problem until we figure out what agency is going to deal with this problem.
What's its motivation?
The first time you watch it, you're taken through these scenes because you're interested as well as to how they're going to solve this or what their opinion is on all this that's unfolding before them. It gets a bit tiresome on repeated viewings, because with repeated viewings, I think that you're kind of brainwashed into thinking there's more Godzilla scenes than there are. So when I came back to it, I'm like, let's get to the next Godzilla. Where in the first time I was like, okay, I was in for the ride.
Just waiting for the humans to stop talking.
One of the jokes is we always say to each other, what would it be like if there was a Godzilla movie with no humans? And this is the opposite. This is like a Godzilla movie with
no Godzilla.
No Godzilla, almost. But the scenes that do have Godzilla are so crazy and terrifying, genuinely scary. And I think that this is what they were going for, really like the first movie, a force of nature coming through.
Yes.
Or Earth striking back in some way, because there is that subplot of the empty yacht. This crazy biologist who everybody thought was crazy, but he really wasn't because he...
Goro Maki?
Did he specifically know about this creature? Because it sounds, he even names it.
He sounds like, he names it. And I guess he predicted that it was going to show up.
Like, does he know it's down there? Like, so what happened to him? Did he get sucked into the
It seems like
creature?
he woke it up on purpose. Because
where is he?
Goro.
Because his yacht is right over where it emerges.
So now, is he part of its DNA,
he just parked
though?
It there.
Somehow, because we see the
left completely open to
you just beg for a continuation of this story, like to get some more facts.
You can't just leave a yacht there.
I don't know. Yeah, it's left vague.
Not
something you really think about though until afterwards, like because you're invested in these Godzilla scenes.
Yeah, no, it's very well put together, and
I really like the way they emphasize the scale of. Godzilla.
You're getting a lot of upshots. You're getting a lot of camera angles you wouldn't normally get. The decision to turn his hands upwards is really weird, but it just adds to something's not right with this thing. But the tail is just preposterously long. It is way too long, and it bothered me.
Well, I think what it implies is it's still evolving.
It's still evolving,
it has not reached its final form. There's still
if there is even a final form, because it's adapting to everything in real, in the same day.
That's we've never seen before is a Godzilla that's actually, he's now on land. And it's this creature, this elemental that's been living underneath the water, and now he's emerged. Look at all these people. What's going on here? And he's just changing to try.
It actually reminded me a lot of the Smog Monster that also had different physical forms that it takes throughout the movie.
Right. Yeah.
And has to adapt to land. That whole sequence where, and again, it's just so short, but so effective when the first iteration that we see anyway of Godzilla with the big googly eyes is pushing through that river, that canal, and all the boats are just in a jumble before it.
Yeah.
Is just as the CG work is incredible here.
That's what I mean when I say it seems almost blind. Like it's just sort of relentlessly moving forward despite whatever obstacles are in its way. It's not trying to clear a path for itself or anything. It's just, like it's not trying to find another way around.
Mole, right?
Yeah, it's just sort of like going forward, and it just seems like in a pure panic. And they keep showing the shot of the blood coming out of the gills from underneath the gills. So like you're sort of seeing it from street level.
Yeah, being dumped on.
And then it's in a panic. It's just such an intimidating Godzilla, sort of in every form. Even when it starts to stand up and stuff, it has these really long, sharp teeth, and they look bloody.
But even the jaws, the unhingeable jaw.
Yeah.
And when he unleashes the beams out of his back, again, that's crap we've never seen before. And you're just like, what is going on here? It is. Yeah, you're right. Because you walk away and you're like, all right, I want to see more. Give me, you've now opened up this world. Let's give me something else.
Well, and especially when you get to the end and you see that final shot and you're like,
you're like, what am I even looking at? Because nothing is even hinted at that leading up to it. But getting back to its first form, there is that joke, as Christina mentioned, like, well, we don't think it's possible for it to get on land. And then suddenly, in the same breath, somebody say, excuse me, sir, but it's on land. What?
Right. The Prime Minister's literally saying, right. In the press conference, he's like, there's no need to worry. It's going to stay in the water. And then somebody whispers
in his ear, oh, like, could you at least wait until this was over to tell me that? But then there's another scene with this first PM before he gets obliterated. Before they decide to unleash the first helicopter attack, which never actually turns into an attack. But we need your decision, sir, on what to do. Right now, you do?
Right. They're all looking at him like,
can I think about this for a day? I sleep on it?
Yeah.
There's that scene where the first stage Godzilla crawls up on the building and knocks it over. And you see the family in their apartment before he climbs up. Hurry up, dear. There's no urgency in his voice whatsoever. Like, come on, let's go. Hurry up. There's a giant monster approaching us.
Everyday occurrence.
We'll die. Yeah, we'll die any second now, but please hurry.
Well, this is
polite to a fault.
This, to me, always illustrates the absurdity of people fleeing a disaster. They're always trying to take their stuff. The reason why they're still in their apartment is because she's like carefully folding clothes into a bag. Even going back to the original Godzilla, you see people like running through the street, like pulling trunks with like dishes on top, like all this stuff.
Hey, that's like grandma's china.
It's like, just leave. There's a giant monster. You're not supposed to be like collecting your stuff.
All right, I'm that kind of to my stuff,
but that kind of is also accentuated in those scenes where they have a little interlude where you see just life carrying on elsewhere in Japan as all this news is breaking that this disaster has happened. Like, so if you're not there if you're not there in the path, then you're whatever. I'm just going to continue to jog or go to work or what have you.
What am I gonna? What else am I gonna do?
Well, and also I always find it interesting when you see these things happening now in like modern day, the first thing people start doing is filming it with their phones,
That is true.
Like there's all these people standing on a rooftop from a distance filming it, you
will think I can't believe this. What I'm looking at. I gotta get to my YouTube channel.
And another tie-in to the themes of Smog Monster of Hedorah. This creature is birthed from pollution in this iteration. He feeds on radioactive waste that's dumped into the bay.
Someone's got to eat it.
So he's birthed of pollution. So I appreciated that callback as well. If it was an intentional or unintentional, I still appreciated it.
It's an answer we've been looking for. We should hire him. Well, you mentioned it earlier, the fact that not only are you watching this subtitles, but then they try and put the titles of the characters who are speaking up on the top, and it is very disjointed because I'm like, where am I supposed to look? What am I supposed to read? Do I care who this character is, or do I want to hear what he has to say? Don't give me both.
And the music, the Akira Ifukube score, the original music cues that they use from the 54 and even the roar of Godzilla, those, recycling those original roars.
Why would you mess with that?
Yeah.
And they actually use a lot of old Ifukube tracks from like different films that he scored. So my son was looking them up. He's like, there's some from Monster Zero and there's some from, Godzilla versus Mothra. There's like a bunch of stuff that they use. So they use like a bunch of different Ifukube tracks.
The closing credits are like a greatest hits.
I
collection.
actually let the credits run so I can listen to the music.
Godzilla from his first stage stands up on 2 feet again right after somebody says, well, it's not going to be able to support its own weight. And then it stands up and then goes back into the water and changes more and then comes back double, triple its original size. And then it's like the final version that you see in the movie, at least. And then it goes into the end game. But, just when it unleashes the atomic breath in that first instance of it, it's really scary because you see the devastation that it opens up its mouth, then all the smoke comes out and then suddenly the fire and like the entire frame is filled with flames. It's real. But terrifying. But terrifying. This is not a creature that you're getting behind. I just have to say, you're not rooting for Godzilla in this movie. And then like the energy beam that like cuts the city in half as it unleashes it. And then the beams that you just, like Jeff said, that come out of its spikes just so it can adapt to fighting these planes, dropping bombs on them. Beautiful to look at, like the purple laser.
Well, he's definitely giving off radiation because actually Ogashira figures this out really quickly. But as usual, she keeps saying things throughout this film and people don't listen to her, and then like 10 minutes later, she's proved right.
Right.
It is giving off radiation. So you have to assume that it is nuclear breath that's coming out. Did you guys notice Takumi Saito in the tank, by the way? Ultraman. Ultraman.
The actor that plays Ultraman. No, I knew after the fact, I read that he was in this movie, but I didn't notice him. No.
Oh, okay. It was just funny because we watched this after we'd seen Ultraman. I was like, hey, Ultraman.
There he is. It is a tie-in.
Yeah, he's like the squad leader. He's like a tank commander. So he's the guy who says fire, basically.
So the U.S. gets involved by the end of this movie. They are wanting to destroy or attempt to destroy Godzilla with a nuclear weapon because they're afraid that he can reproduce asexually and that there'll be more of these things that would threaten the entire world. So they want to take him out. The Japanese team have the idea to freeze him. They beg compromise that let's try this method before you go nuclear on him. And that's what they do. They drop a building on him, which is an extremely impressive sequence. Because when and not to say that anything in this is in any way, shape, or form reality or close to reality, it makes some kind of sense that whenever he expends his energy, his radioactive energy, he has to go into sleep mode to refuel, to recharge, right? So once they see this, like, well, let's provoke him, and then when he's weak, then we can do this.
Just attack,
Yeah. So they drop a building on him to knock him over, and they have all these cranes to inject this coagulant into his blood to freeze him. It doesn't work that well with the first team.
How'd that go?
I don't know if I was part of the second team, I'm like, those guys just died. I think I'm out of here.
Yeah. Team 2 go. Team 2 go.
Yeah.
No, that's
Team 1 gone. Team 2, come on up. Yep.
Next.
So it takes two tries. It takes 2 tries, but they're successful in actually free. It takes a few minutes to take, but so he's now this giant statue by the end of the movie in the middle of the city. And the U.S. have given an ultimatum. Okay, you've done well, but if he ever comes back, then we're dropping the bomb on him.
So he's there now.
And nobody can be there because if he ever comes back, so they have to keep the city empty.
But he's not that radioactive. That's the thing. They talk about that at the end, how his isotope only has a shorter half-life. So, and it's decreasing, so he won't be like giving off radiation.
But I think it would be safe to say that you don't want to go back and live right by him if he's going to wake up at any given moment and the U.S. are going to drop a bomb on him. I think I'm going to steer clear of this area.
It's really cheap right now. We should buy it.
That ward is basically unlivable now.
Yeah.
But can you imagine like you're in your apartment, you open up your window and like there's Godzilla frozen right there.
They could make a zip line right through his head. Oh, wait, they have done that.
Wait, they did that.
But the real kicker here is that last shot at the end where you do see that he was starting to reproduce tiny Gojira off his tail.
Yeah, that was horrific.
But these look like human skeletons.
Humanoid almost, yeah.
With fins. But like with human skulls, you see rib cages there, and you're thinking, okay, so these things are in the process of coming off his tail. Did any escape, or did any actually make it off of his tail?
Right, did they freeze him in time, or are these things on the loose?
And they have a little bit of like the xenomorphs and aliens, know, who they look different, sort of depending on how they've evolved. Like in Alien 3 they look more like dogs because they came out of dogs,
gestated out of a dog.
So they have a little bit of that quality, where they look sort of half Gojira, half humanoid, and you just wonder, is this just the next stage of the evolution where it's like, wow, I see all these little ant-like creatures running around. So let me just put some little ants down to deal with them, right?
Yeah.
We may never know.
I know. I mean, the end is just, I've wanted a Shin Godzilla sequel forever.
It's like, tell me what those are. Somebody.
But maybe you don't want to know, right? Maybe it's better in your imagination. Whatever reasoning they come up with, would it match, your deepest hopes and dreams?
Well, I think it's pretty simple because they laid the groundwork, because they talked about it reproducing asexually, and they keep talking about its evolution. So, I mean, I think it's already there in the text.
But I mean, if they were actually to make a movie about it, you're thinking to yourself, this could be like on an Aliens James Cameron level, but maybe it wouldn't be that at all. So that's where I'm thinking.
Maybe a World War Z.
Maybe your imagination might be better than reality.
Right, because can you imagine like all these little Gojira like street fighting, basically?
I know, yeah.
Terrorizing the population.
Yeah.
Isn't that basically Emmerich's Godzilla?
Or would they try to bring another kaiju into it? If there was ever a sequel to this, who knows?
Yeah, yes.
Well, that was interesting too, because we were talking about that, how normally the only kaiju that you ever see evolve is Mothra. So you see Mothra in like sort of the larval form, and then you see the
like we do have Hydra, like I mentioned, and
Smog Monster.
Destoroyah, he does that too.
Destoroyah does mutate, yeah.
I always wish that
Biollante, didn't Biollante
starts as like a little, just like keeps getting bigger. Like
Audrey 2. Yeah. Feed me.
All the Heisei era films are really interesting because they were all interconnected, but so much of the films and the creatures that came out of that era really get disregarded, I think, because it was all like sort of big interconnected stories. So, a lot of filmmakers going forward haven't really gone back to some of the interesting concepts.
Yeah, there were some nice designs going on there. So who knows? He's still sitting there. He's waiting.
Written by Hideki Anno, who did some of the motion capture in Ultraman, by the way, because he was also the writer of that movie. Anno actually wrote a sequel treatment to this called Shin Godzilla's Counterattack, but he didn't share what it was actually about.
Son of a...
And if you're a anime fan, Hideaki Anno is the creator of Neon Genesis Evangelion, which has a very big cult following, probably like one of the biggest cult followings of any anime, mostly because he keeps leaving things unfinished.
Is he the George R.R. Martin?
But how cool would it have been if just to see this big Godzilla statue in one shot in Shin Ultraman, just to tie the
just to know that it was out there.
Again, you tease us with the logo up front, so
like to have one of these kaiju in the beginning coming out of the ground in Shin Ultraman, like coming out like in the same vicinity, so you see it like during those CNN news shots in the background somewhere.
Yeah. A little nice little Easter egg.
Just a fact of life, the statue that's still there, from a few years ago.
There it is.
Maybe we'll see it in Shin Kamen Rider.
Maybe we will.
They'll have a big battle around.
He'll do a jump off of the tail on the motorcycle at some point. I just found it interesting as well, looking in, because this is of course after the American Godzilla film of 2014 came out, and the deal with Legendary, apparently they couldn't produce a Japanese Godzilla film in the same year that an American Godzilla film came out. And this was the highest grossing Japanese produced Godzilla film.
Wow.
Not surprising. The budget was 15 million in American dollars, and worldwide box office was 78 million for Shin Godzilla. So definite hit. But again, as we said, we may never see a sequel.
We are getting a new Godzilla movie this year.
We are, from Toho.
Who knows when I'll actually get over here?
Yeah, that's the other thing too, right? Maybe they're laying the groundwork with this Shin Ultraman. Let's put that out there, see if there's interest. And then when this movie drops next year, maybe we'll get a limited release in the US.
There's a lot of interest for this stuff. I mean,
I agree with you.
Not just Gojira films, but like, just Japanese film in general. The amount of money some of these anime films have made in theaters, and I'm sure that a lot of Americans are surprised by it, but like especially because anime is so much more accessible now, or just like because of all the streaming services. Netflix has anime and Hulu has anime, and Crunchyroll is a whole channel devoted to anime, and there's just so much more access. Whereas 25 years ago, my husband and I would be buying like one videotape that had 2 episodes of a TV show that we liked.
And you probably paid $90 for it.
Right. And it would be released like, once every 6 or 8 months, you'd get 2 more episodes of the thing you wanted to watch. And now not everything, but so many more things are available.
Like a niche, it's like a niche nerd market. And that's not the case anymore.
Right. Like and I just think that, and especially because too, like Netflix has so much foreign TV, right? They have so many K-dramas. They have so many European TV shows. People are much less weird about like watching things with subtitles, stuff like that. Like I just think that there's just much more of a market there, and it's sort of like no harm, no foul to try to release this stuff over here. I think
it's a much smaller world now.
Yeah.
Get this stuff out.
Yeah. The last Godzilla movie that was theatrically released here before this one was Godzilla 2000. I think Final Wars was like a special art house kind of a deal, but like in wide release. I remember going to see Godzilla 2000 at the mall, and I was the only one in the theater, along with there was a grandmother and 2 little kids in front of me. It was a girl and a boy, and I'll never forget this. Gojira, I think, was the name of the kaiju that fights Godzilla in that one. And this thing, it's almost like the Demogorgon in Stranger Things, where this flower opens up from its mouth and it tries to swallow Godzilla.
I remember that. Yes, yeah.
And as it's like halfway through, you see the spines light up, like he's going to blast this thing from the inside. And the little kid, the boy, who couldn't have been more than 8 years old, said, "That's what I'm talking about." As soon as
that's that moment, all right. As a kid, you live for that stuff.
Yeah.
I think my favorite film from the Millennium era is Giant Monsters All Out Attack. I love that one.
Yeah, that's another one that stands on its own. Like they take that right out of the whatever series was going on, the Millennium series, and plunk that on its own.
Yeah, because it has a completely different, backstory for all the kaiju.
Another one where Godzilla has tried to, be presented as like this terrifying villain, although, not to the extent that, not even close to where they go here with Shin Godzilla.
Right. Well, in that one, they say that he represents the spirits of innocent people who were killed in war. So he's it's like a vengeful monster, So
that doesn't mess around. We got lots of Thanksgivings before us, so someday we'll cover that one.
Let's go.
All right. What kind of buckets would we give to Shin Godzilla? I'm going to go with this one. Yeah, there's lots of talk. There's lots of dialogue, but those those Godzilla sequences are, I think, unmatched thus far. They are just so out of left field and original. I'm going to give it 4 buckets.
Ooh, that's pretty high for Jim. I'm going to go 3 3/4. I'm right below you.
And I'm going to say 4 1/4 because it's actually one of my favorites.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Just really quickly, I'm just looking at Toho's page talking about the Reiwa era Gojira films, saying after 2021, we're thinking of a potential strategy that releases Godzilla movies uninterrupted at a rate of every 2 years.
Ooh.
Although there's a preference for a yearly pace as well.
Yearly. Oofa.
Yeah.
But I wonder if this Legendary is going to mess that up. If, well, maybe they're, barring another COVID type event, maybe they're basing this on Legendary's release schedule as well.
So this is Toho's Chief Godzilla Officer, Keiji Ota. I would like to be Chief Godzilla
Chief
Officer.
Godzilla.
I want that to be
I want to see the
title.
shirt for that. Yeah.
I think that is a title in the movies. They probably took that right from the films.
And he said that it's going to be like a world of Godzilla, like a shared cinematic universe between Godzilla and other Toho monsters after 2021.
All right.
So that is Toho's plan. They're saying they're going to invest $15 billion.
Ooh, I like this plan.
Yeah.
Let's go. As long as they make it accessible over here. Don't be teasing me. Look at all these Godzilla movies we have over here. Oh.
Now that we have the internet, some of these things like are readily available if you want a drastic decrease in quality. I'm sure that those are bootlegs that you're seeing online. But remember in the 90s, you had to go to like a Japanese merchandise store to get a bootleg videotape of if you wanted to watch, Godzilla versus King Ghidorah or Space Godzilla. So things are a bit more accessible today, but yes, please put these out in theaters. All right. So what else did we do this week?
I started my homework for our book club.
I've got to do that.
Wait until you guys finish this book.
Well, I'm still at the knock at the cabin. I haven't gotten very far, but I'm in so far. So yeah, this is Cabin at the End of the World. And it is an upcoming book club episode that we are going to be doing with the new M. Night Shyamalan, A Knock at the Cabin. Knock in the Woods. Knock in the Woods. Is that what it is?
He's calling it Knock at the Cabin.
Knock at the Cabin?
Yeah. That's what
Knock in the Woods.
The Shyamalan film is called Knock at the Cabin, which I'm just not nuts about compared to Paul's original title. So.
Knock at the Cabin. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, you got cabin fever, you got the cabin in the woods. So maybe they just were trying to separit it a little bit.
Yeah, just the implications
at the end of the world
of the cabin at the end of the world.
Yeah, it's a much more, why is it at the end of the world? What's going on? Yeah, but I guess we'll get there with that one. That's a couple weeks away.
I'm just a little scared because they're releasing it in February, which is where movies go to die. Yeah, we'll
see. I watched another Shudder horror movie. I talked about Pieces last episode. This movie just appeared on Shudder in the past week, but it is from 1981. It's called Possession, starring Sam Neill
and Isabella Adjani.
Now, talk about movies that are out there. That is this, and this it didn't really give away much in the synopsis before you press play. It's just, a couple it was psychological thriller, married couple having issues. There's so much more to it than that. But watching the opening credits where it says Carlo Rambaldi does the creature effects. I'm like, creature effects.
Ooh. Spoiler.
But it's,
They should have saved that for the end.
Yeah, I know. But it makes you hang in there because this is another movie where you could talk for hours on this and probably not get to the bottom of what's actually going on here in this movie. It's very confusing, but it's something that sticks with you. There's lots of haunting imagery. I for some reason thought it was going to be a vampire movie, which is way off course. But it's like one or both of these people. It's like about a crumbling marriage in Berlin. And it's this guy that's Sam Neill plays a spy for West Berlin because he lives with his wife and young son right by the wall in an apartment building, and their marriage is crumbling, and there's like lots of hallucinatory blood-soaked stuff going on. And yes, there's this creature. I don't want to give too much away, but it is wacko and it is out there.
It's interesting because I was wondering why, because this is an old film. This is from 1981.
Yep.
And this is actually one of my all-time favorites. I love weird movies like this. I love any movie that's not clear. Like if it's not clear, I usually enjoy it. But was wondering recently why I'd been seeing so many social media posts about this film. Like, why are people suddenly talking about Possession?
Because it's on Shudder. Because it's on Shudder. Yeah.
So, you just answered a question for me because I saw somebody else mention it this week, and I'm like, so weird.
Right.
But I saw it pop up, like, and this has not been on my radar. I'm like, Sam Neill? All right, I'm in. Early Sam Neill. I'll watch it.
Sam Neill's been in so many horror movies. People don't think of him as a horror actor.
Yeah, no.
So I was just talking earlier about how I don't have time to watch your prestige dramas because I only watch cartoons. I spent all of yesterday basically watching season 3 of this anime, Ascendance of a Bookworm, which is a isekai, which is a Japanese term for like a story where the character goes to another world. So actually like Alice in Wonderland would be an isekai. And in this story, the main character was a bookworm in our world. She died in our world and was reborn in a child's body in a different world, which has like sort of similar to a medieval degree of technology. There's also magic. But she comes into this world with all the knowledge that she had as an adult in a more technologically advanced society. And the series starts off seeming sort of like slice of life, sort of sweetness and light. And then it just keeps getting more intense as it goes on, which is why I spent the whole day watching the episodes yesterday, because she has all this knowledge. And so she has become valuable to like powerful people because she wants to like advance things in her society, in this society, to what she's accustomed to in
She's like, let me invent the internet for you because
she's just starting with inventing the printing press, and that's pretty controversial.
Wow.
So
you're a witch.
And then it turns out she does possess magic in her current body. So she just becomes very very, very valuable to powerful people, and it puts her in a lot of peril. So if you're interested in this kind of story, Ascendance of a Bookworm, it's on Crunchyroll.
I was going to ask you where. Okay.
Yep. And it's really fun because it just escalates. You like I said, it starts off feeling like kind of slice of lifey, which I love those kinds of anime. But then by the time you get to season 3, you're like, she's in peril, like every single episode. Wow. People are trying to kidnap her for her power.
Sure, why not?
Mm-hmm.
She might want to keep that to herself.
Yeah.
All right. So what are we covering next week?
I hope it's something food related.
Well, it just happens to be. We are covering a recent theatrical release that showed up not too long ago on HBO Max, The Menu. We are pairing it with, now this is Jeff's idea, and I don't know if any of us have actually seen this yet. I may have, but it's been many, many years. Something else that's available on HBO Max. So if you want to watch these 2 movies along with us, please feel free. Eating Raoul. You see what we're doing there?
Yeah, I see. I see what's on the menu.
Yeah. So next week, The Menu and Eating Raoul.
Come for the appetizers.
Yeah.
Stay for the dessert.
Thanks for listening as always.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, everybody. If you like what you just heard, be sure to follow TMI Confessionals of the Nerd Kind on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, or whatever you listen to your favorite podcasts on. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and then share it with your fellow movie nerd friends. It means the world to us and helps our listenership grow.
You can also find us on all of the socials, Instagram and Twitter at TMI_podcast 2018. We're on Facebook and YouTube as well. Just look for the Popcorn Bucket.
You can help support this show by visiting our TeePublic page for some TMI branded goodies such as hoodies, t-shirts, mugs, and stickers. tpublic.com/TMI confessionals, all one word.
A 5-star review would be incredibly nice as well. I'm just saying.
Thanks again for listening. We truly appreciate you. Be sure to come back next week. We'll save some popcorn for you.
And
Don't trust aliens.
And let me tell you, his clothes don't help any, to
no, like he's
to give the impression that he's on the level, trench coat and a fedora.
They'll love it.